Welcome back. Crane Durham sitting in for Kevin McCullough, guest hosting, and just keeping the seat warm. Weather willing and able. Kevin will be back tomorrow, and we wish the very best in dealing with the weather situation that we are all, in some way, dealing with this season. So, AFA Today continues with the question, how far is too far? Well, what do you mean? I mean, when you disagree with a person in government, a policy, or a business, where do you draw the line? Do you support the idea of publishing a paper publishing where registered gun owners live? Or how about when people sign a petition to make legislative action happen to defend marriage? Excuse me, do I have to say traditional marriage? I think you know what I mean. Marriage is between a man and a woman. That said, when you do that and you work to get a law passed, do you support the targeting of those individuals? Let me flip this on you. What if you disagree with it? What if it's a amendment to a state constitution that defines marriage and thereby redefines it and thereby ends it as we know it? Marriage between a man and a man or a woman and a woman. We could do the same thing with life. Where is the line drawn? Well, interestingly enough, we have a situation that has come to light regarding the Keystone Pipeline. And Keystone Pipeline was and is something that actually now environmental studies, I mean, bottom line, it has been and continues to be, quite frankly, the most politicized blocking of a project that would enhance our economy by providing jobs. Now, some have argued it's not going to provide 20,000 jobs full time, but for 2 years it will. It will provide that, and then we'll have a cutback to keep the maintenance of the pipeline. What about the resource? Well, we really don't need it. It's oil, and so it's energy that works. Oh, we do need it. And it would be a boon to the economy as well as our overall supply and control of that supply domestically. So why on earth aren't we doing it? Well, State Department's done environmental studies, and the latest study says that if we don't build it, it actually will cause more greenhouse gas because we'll go to less safe relative to pipelines, the delivery of the oil through rail. So when an oil executive is at home on a Friday evening and he looks outside and he sees torches, and it's of people who are masked, and they're environmentalists. If you look at the picture, it's absolutely amazing. But Mark Mackey, a member of the Enbridge Energy Company board of directors of energy management, had this happen to him the other night. And here's part of the exchange. The protesters went up and knocked on the door. Remember, they're carrying torches. There's 8 of them, and they carry a banner as well. Listen and watch, if you are watching, this exchange. Roll it.
Hi, my name is Amanda. My friends and I came down tonight to let you know that we think that you and Enbridge are corporate criminals and that it's y'all that should be in jail rather than the MyCat 3.
What was the 3 limit? What did they do?
They shut down your pipeline construction.
They did a lockdown on one of your pieces of equipment, and now they're facing 2 to 3 years in prison.
Listen, again, 10 o'clock at night, I'm happy to discuss it. Not here, not now. I'm not in the neighborhood, not with the neighbors.
You think you could just go to work and punch in and poison people, then come home and distance yourself like it never happened, like you don't have to be accountable to anyone you live with, that your neighbors shouldn't know that you are destroying your children's future and their children's future?
This is not the time and place. What's your group, by the way, guys?
We're just the people, man. How about that?
The people.
And there are
We're
a
the
lot
faces
more
of the
us.
people. You have no idea, man. The world is spinning quick.
Well,
Tell the rest of the board they can expect visits.
Threatening as well. Isn't that great? And that's how they roll. Now, of course, on seeing this, I had a visceral reaction, as I'm sure many of you are right now, because it's not an isolated issue. In fact, as we look at the author of and recognize the author, Ron Arnold, he's the author of Eco-Terror, The Violent Agenda to Save Nature, name of the book. And he says that he's investigated 1,200 plus cases, and according to the Washington Examiner, in an article by LaShawn Markey, he has discussed that many of these environmentalists have had instances in which they resort to this type of behavior or are more prone to it than, as we've seen, other movements and animal rights and eco that it gets out of hand, and there are violence and there's acts of vandalism and threats, and they've gone to people's homes, and it's not unusual. This happened in Texas, and my question to you is, how far is too far? And what would your response have been? Eco-terrorists coming to your home, brandishing torches, looking like the member of one of the all-star teams of ignorance, the KKK. What's the other part? Oh, yeah, the Black Panthers and the Westboro Baptist Church. Yeah, those. And they could be Hall of Famers, it sounds like, in that type of grouping. Bottom line, the Sierra Club, I'm quoting from the article now, one of the most prominent environmentalist groups in America, in this country, gave its official endorsement last year to acts of civil disobedience as a means to stop the popular Keystone Pipeline. What is your line? 1-888-589-8840. 1-888-589-8840. 1-888-589-8840. How far is too far for you? In mentioning this story and talking about the activism that's associated with this, do you know the protesters were there and what they were doing? They were protesting somebody who had been arrested for an illegal criminal act and was being prosecuted through the legal process, and they were taking issue with that because their idea trumped the rule of law. Their idea trumped the civility, certainly, and their idea allowed for them, and they felt the idea was okay to go to somebody's home with torches. Let's go to the phones, and let's begin with George. George, welcome.
Yeah, this is George. That
Hello.
is just insane to me. I would have probably sent my wife and children to the back of the house and took my pistol out. You got 8 people showing up with torches at your front door and masks on? I'd have thought it was, and I'm not being mean
George, there's nothing mean about what you just said.
I'd have
George,
thought it was a
go
home
ahead.
invasion, dude.
Yeah. Well,
I'd have thought they were there to burn down my house or hurt my family.
they're at your home. They have torches. They're knocking on your door.
And they're wearing masks. I would have completely come unglued, man. I mean, if you want to have a discussion with me, I'd be perfectly willing to talk, which is what the gentleman said. If you guys want to talk about it, we can talk, but my goodness gracious, you don't come at me like this.
George, wow. It's just great to talk with you. And people are hearing you all across the country say exactly what so many of us, then the vast majority of us, regardless of our opinions, would like. But this person and these groups jump over the line. And leftists, you don't see this with supposed right-wing organizations, conservative, especially the brand of us in the sense of Christian conservative. We don't do this. We don't support this. Why is that? We abide by the rule of law. Hey, really appreciate it, George. Thank you for taking the time. Take care. Let's keep moving. Let's go to Eric in the great state of Oklahoma. Hello, Eric. Go ahead.
Hello? Hey,
Yes, sir.
Green, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you. You mentioned the Keystone pipeline a minute ago, and there's something about the Keystone pipeline issue and our president's stance on it that I can't understand why people cannot at least trace what he's doing here. Is that this president plays politics for politics' sake a lot. And one thing that is revealed, whether or not you're for or against the Keystone pipeline, the fact is the EPA came out with reports that there was no impact.
Did it also say in that report, the latest report I believe you're referring to, actually, if you build it, you'll get less greenhouse emissions?
Yes, it did, as a matter of fact, call out that. And at the same time, one of his platform issues is jobs. And it creates, I think, over 10,000 jobs, domestic, as well as establishing domestic independence for energy. And again, no matter what side of the issue you stand on, the facts bore out that this pipeline would actually enforce a lot of his platform, and he will not sign it into to allow it to continue. And that's politics for politics' sake. It's very interesting how this president, when it suits him, will just do whatever he wants. And I'm curious why people on either side of the aisle won't at least call him out for that. That, hey, look, your words and your actions aren't lining up here.
How about just one interview? I'd like one a week with the president, 3 hours. He can pick the network, but at least he has to get to everybody, or do a press conference for 3 hours so he can't run out the clock. And just ask that one question until you get the answer. Because what you just stated was what I probably share with you, George, Eric, on a whole host of issues. The fact is, we have all this information that backs up and makes the substantive case for what we want to do. And we're given a one-liner where the one-liner response can be exposed for what it is, which is a dishonest response and one that is purely political. And we need accountability. It's just, I think we've reached a threshold now where we see the agenda, the record, and we say, why on earth are we accepting these answers? How does this continue? There's the emperor is naked, so to speak, and we've certainly exposed that time and time again. I just wish there was more accountability. But Eric, I really appreciate your phone call. Thank you. Take care. All right, let's keep moving. The emperor has no clothes. Pardon me. Let's go to Bob. Bob, thanks for your patience. In South Dakota. Bob.
Yeah, okay, I appreciate you taking my call.
Yes, sir.
So, anyhow, I kind of got a kick out of that like, when you said one-liners, because they accuse George Bush of making one-liners all the time, but no one says anything about Mr. Obama making one-liners, so that's kind of funny. But
okay, well, one-liners. Hold on. With George Bush, I'm just confused.
That's what they accused him of making one-liners. You just mentioned that Mr. Obama is making one-liners. I said it's kind of humorous because no one, they jumped all over Bush.
Oh yeah, they did their job.
Every time he made a comment, it was one-liners. So
that's a great point. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So anyhow, this other deal I kind of get a kick out of too. You know, these guys are groups. Liberal causes, that kind of thing. I don't know what else to call them. It's obvious what it is. I was charged with domestic terrorism myself. I stopped in a convenience store in North Dakota, and I'm from South Dakota, so I was doing work up there, and I was trying to talk about the war in Germany and that kind of thing, and about what we stand for and this and that. And this professor walks in and that, and of course, I'm not trying to get into the whole story in that there, but
we've kind of opened the door to it, though. And Bob, I don't think we'll do it justice either way. I mean, with due respect, Bob, I don't think we'll do your topic justice either way because of the open door there, and for all of us, I don't mean any disrespect. I think it's best that if we're specific to that call or the story, yes, but we're kind of running out of time as well. I'm looking at the clock. And as guest hosting, I want to make sure I abide by the time rules because sometimes I, on my program, go right into them. That said, I appreciate your phone call, and I appreciate the idea of what you mentioned with George W. Bush. Now, look, will tell you there are a lot of things I disagreed with the president on, as any president, when it comes to George W. Bush domestic policy-wise and the way to go about it, including amnesty. I just was not a fan of that. The press oftentimes took an opportunity to run with a story and not hold the people who were making statements that became the story to account. And I'm speaking specifically to Bush lied, people died. And that was a political campaign of the left where they sacrificed national security on the altar of politics. There's a theme here. It's politics trumps everything. It's winning at all costs. It's the use of threats. Hey, if I agree with it. If somebody else does it, then I don't. And what I've found time and time again is there are some leftists who will absolutely reject this nonsense and say, no, I don't think he's doing the right thing. I don't think if somebody's breaking the law, I'm not a fan of that either way. But there is an idea within the left that power, it's about power and the use of power. And what we see with the people who are advancing these policies is they're no longer interested in convincing us they're right. And when I hear the president say he's going to be using his pen more to advance things, this is a man who's already made a statement about how he could not do something in the area of immigration 1 year, and a year later he did exactly what he said he could not do. The Fourth Estate, the press is supposed to expose this. I think they're starting to catch up, but I don't have faith in them. I do have faith in God and to understand that we have been given a voice to do the right thing, speak truth in love, and transform our culture. Let's continue to do that. It's been a pleasure and privilege. Crane Durham sitting in for Kevin McCullough, guest hosting AFA Today on AFR Talk. Coming up, the B-Man himself, Focal Point.
The views and opinions